The Lion, the Witch, and the Server Room is a 13th Age pencil and paper RPG played entirely using business collaboration tools. Okay, I done texted Yang a ping. A single, lonely ping. But while we are pinging, Yang, I was wondering if so I have terrible news that has almost no effect on anyone, which is just that last week I badly screwed up the stream. The entire stream was entirely unwatchable, and all the footage produced by it was also entirely unwatchable because I badly screwed it up. I'm not very good at streaming. I forgot to connect my microphone to the stream. So I have a lot of footage of you guys reacting to stuff that's happening in the world, but none of the stuff that's happening in the world, which can be at times confusing. So, not just for Jen, who wasn't here for the last session, but also for all of our many fans out there, he says knowingly, could the lot of you help recap our previous session? And then maybe I could cut it together with some of the footage that I have.
Trying to remember. We came into a town.
No, we had to follow ScarJo down the river.
She washed away.
She washed away. She made the right choices. We ended up going past, was it Spinebreaker Lodge?
The Backbreaker Spa.
Backbreaker. That's it. Backbreaker.
Instead of going over waterfall.
Yeah.
Placid Falls, I think.
He seemed quite lovely, but we had to jet real quick. I think maybe we should go back and see him for a good massage, though.
Yeah. And then we got to the town, and we found a grandma, didn't we? We
definitely did.
And I was very suspicious of the grandma because she could see all of our split souls and Hex, which is unusual for NPCs.
We had to make the fishing village. Not only the flag, we had to make a flag, but then we had to actually build the fishing village, and we got fishing points. 17 of them?
Yes,
if I remember
you
correctly.
got 17 fishing points, which you can spend later on at fish-themed salespersons.
The points are very important.
But the grandma turned out to be fairly nice and just gave us soup.
Yeah, lovely salmon chowder, right? Salmon chowder?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
And I posted the recipe in a side forum, and both me and Courtney made the salmon chowder. So it was a real salmon chowder that existed in real life.
Oh,
and then when we were leaving, it was Nanagrammy's jerk of a grandson, Trentus.
He was a necromancer, and he made a bunch of skeletons attack us. We had very successful time beating them up somehow. They fell into the water a lot. I got to use my calamity powers. They kept mis-rolling ones, and if they roll a 1, I get to extra screw them up. Or 1 to 5, I think. I get to turn a 1 to 5 into a natural 1. So.
And Yang spent a whole bunch of time stuck in nets.
Yeah, Yang, poor Yang. He tried to go fight, but he mostly got in nets.
Okay, Yang texted, putting Zoe to bed, be right there.
Okay.
I think he fell in the net on the very first round and didn't get out until almost the end.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody kept immobilizing him, so he just stayed where he was.
He fell into the nets in his first combat round, and then because all of the fishing villagers were also animatable by the necromancer. Hey Yang. We're doing a recap.
Last time on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Because all of the skeletons were animatable by the necromancer, because all the fishing villager skeletons were animatable by the necromancer, they kept throwing nets around. And so Yang fell into the nets, and then just as he was getting out of the nets, a skeleton threw some nets on him. And then just as he was getting out of those nets, another skeleton threw more nets on him. He spent most of the combat covered in nets.
And then as soon as I get out, I did a really cool flip over a pier and then fell into the water.
That's true. Oh yeah, and a couple of times, the Trentus brought a bunch of skeletons with him, Bone Thugs and Harmony was a giant ogre, made of bones. And on Harmony's first move, he just fell through the pier. His very first move was to try to walk over a part of the pier that wouldn't support his weight, and then he crashed right through and then sunk onto the shore and took a bunch of damage. Which I thought was a good moment. And then Trentus got away.
Yeah, the little coward.
He did. He ran. Jerk.
And Nana Gramden brought you back into her shack. Well, you brought her back into her shack because she'd gotten lightly axed by one of the bone golems. And you lightly axed. You gently axed, which is
She
tough.
went down. All 7 hit points gone.
I mean, she's very old. She doesn't have a big pool of hit points to work with. She's powerful, but, she's not blessed with lots of hit points. And so after all of that happened, after everything happened, you're all just sort of getting ready to spend the night in Nana Gramden's house because it's getting dark out and you don't want to go into the spooky woods while it's extra, extra dark out. And you've had a busy day full of skeletons. Amelia pops in from just outside of frame, falls into the middle of the fishing house and goes, "Guys, I made it. I learned how to use my teleport abilities."
All right, you're going to have to show me.
Check it out. Man, it's not working.
Only once per scene.
So she bamfed away early on in the last session and then sort of appeared halfway through. Well, no, just at the beginning of the next session.
There was something about a church.
Oh yeah, everyone keeps talking about a creepy church, which is an ominous church, which is way to the south. And I took away my arrows pointing at it, but it's this one that says Fench on it. I don't know. Fench is... I use code words for all of the things that are covered up. Fench! Go to the Fench.
I'm trying to make Fench happen.
Get Fench. And so, a lot of people keep directing you towards this spooky church down here because they're like, that's a location you should probably investigate. But the very last detail of our last session was that before, you spend the night at Nana Gramden's. You all go to sleep and rest up for the next day, which brings you... you wake up in your human beds, in your regular beds, back at home. You're not fantasy peeps no mo. You're office peeps again. Get ready for some boring office stuff.
Mondays.
So join me at the very top for Start Here.
Zoom.
Zoop to the top.
Soups.
I've zooped.
So, I don't know what your homes look like, so I've provided 5 sample homes, and you can decide which of the 5 sample homes is the sample home for you. You let go of the office. Leave it alone!
I throw the office around.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, you should...
Bring it to front.
I think we all want to live with Ness.
Yeah, who doesn't want to live with Ned?
Only one of you can live with Ness at a time. Boop.
Okay. Myrtle will have a bookish existence. What's outside both of my windows? Is there like a farm on one half of my house and a forest outside the other half?
Look, the universe of Microsoft Bob is extremely poorly defined.
I've got money on the table.
Yeah, you've got some money. You've got a very old laptop. It's September 19th. You've got a Rolodex.
My Rolodex. Clearly. I'm a very popular person.
Did you ever get a chance to use Microsoft Bob?
No, I don't know what that is.
Whoa! Oh no!
It's-
Oh no!
It was a sort of a, I want to say, an operating system developed by Windows in the mid '90s, and they had intended it to be kind of like stupid Windows for dumb people. And so they took all the programs and made them into like objects that you could put into a house, and if you clicked on the programs, it would open up those programs. They were trying to do away with the desktop metaphor that computers had been using for UI.
Kind of like was it PlayStation Home?
Yeah. They were trying to build sort of like a VR office universe, but back before VR was a thing, and so it was just sort of like a
Hey,
wander
sorry.
around a virtual house and click on things that were things in your house, and that would open up programs, but they couldn't get rid of all of the complexity of computers, so you'd like open their very simple email program for dummies, and it'd be like, "What's your POP server?" And you'd be like, I don't know what that
Wait,
is.
who?
What's a POP server? So it was ultimately a failed experiment. People who were techie enough to install a different operating system on their computers were sufficiently techie to find
You get it?
Microsoft Bob extremely grating.
Like take Clippy and just like tenfold.
That's actually it's where Clippy came from. It's
That's true.
Clippy's was born in Microsoft Bob. So each of you, let's see here. Each of you has found a home. This is a home of your own. So I'm gonna tag these homes with Myrtle's home.
My home has windows but no walls. How is that possible?
It's a Sims home. The walls are there. You just can't see them.
No, I know.
My home requires watering a lot of crops and feeding some chickens.
Your
I
home.
live in 2 separate biomes.
Amelia's home. So while I'm doing this, each of your homes has a sticker. You get to take that sticker and put it in your sticker collection and keep it forever.
Hurrah.
Is mine Clippy?
Yours is Clippy. You got Clippy. I'm sorry, Tiffany.
There, it was hiding a dog. A dog. Well, I look forward to having dog. He looks kind of like Brain from Inspector Gadget. Where's this supposed to go? Into character?
At the very
Copy
bottom
it
of your
at the
character
bottom.
sheet is a sticker sheet.
Okay.
4.25 fish points.
Yeah, I divided up the fish points equally amongst all the people who earned fish points. It was a team effort, so you get to share in the fish points. Okie dokie. So everyone gets to go home, which is nice. You get to wake up in your own beds, your comfy beds. In the case of Scarlet, she lives with a bunch of nerds who are also rockers and a tentacle.
I think that's obviously like my failure to launch Sun.
You live with your 2 adult
Perfect.
sons who have never, who just live at home with their mom.
I mean, they literally have a poster that says "Mom." No, is that what
They
that
They
says?
do. They also don't. They have it in for disco, and they are so depressed.
Is that Day of the Tentacle or is it?
It's
Maniac
Maniac Mansion.
Ah,
It's throwing in them sweet video game refereenos.
I also thought it was Dave the Tentacle.
I mean, Day of the
Yeah.
Tentacle and Maniac Mansion are part of the same universe. It's
Mhm.
just a difference of how much
Ah.
pixels
Yes,
are
Rob.
on screen at any given time.
Pixels, exactly.
Did you play Thimblewood Park?
I didn't play Thimblewood Park.
Thimbleweed.
Or Thimbleweed Park. I have
Hard
played
to say out loud.
no combination of thimbles, weeds, and parks have I encountered, but what is it? Is it good?
That was like a newer style game, sim style game, right?
Yeah, it was kickstarted by I forget. I think it might have actually been the guy that did Maniac Mansion. Kickstarted a couple of years ago. It's actually pretty fun.
I sometimes have a soft spot for puzzle games, and I sometimes absolutely hate puzzle games. And it's exactly the degree to which they make me feel like a very smart person. If I feel like a very smart boy when I'm playing them, I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm a very smart boy. And if I play them and I get real angry and spend a bunch of time clicking on bullshit, then I do not care for them. And so it can really. Braid made me feel like a really smart boy. and the Homestuck one, Hive Swap, the first one made me feel like a real smart boy, and then the second one I started playing it, and I just clicked on everything in the entire scene, and I was like, this is dumb, I hate it. Close forever.
Yeah, I started getting frustrated with that one too.
That one actually, it started out with a lot more, like it felt like, I'm almost certain this is how the game development went, but it started out with an absolutely lush, well-described universe with so much stuff in it that you could just rub bacon on mirrors all day. And it was like, I solved the puzzles really quickly and then just blew like 4 to 5 hours touching every object to every other object because they had programmed and typed in a separate response for everything, and I was there for it. I wanted to read all of that sweet text, and it was funny and it was clever and I loved it. And then obviously I think they spent something like 4 or 5 years building that game, and they spent like 3 or 4 of the years on that first handful of rooms, and then it felt like the amount of like love and care that went into the entire rest of the game was way less than that, because obviously you can't keep up that level of like mad over detail. They had written 5 novels and crammed it into the first room, and then they were like, so are we gonna finish this game ever? And then the rest of the horse is sort of badly drawn.
So it's kind of like Duke Nukem Forever.
Exactly. So, my extended digression aside, you wake up in your homes. You are yourselves, but it's the opposite situation as it was last time. So now you're an office worker, and you have the soul of a fantasy hero along for the ride. And you get to decide how that plays out. But 4 of the 5 of you have all of your office knowledge, but also all of your hero knowledge, all crammed into one somewhat confused person. And since you're all in your own homes, you can't even RP off of one another. So I'm going to drag you all into the office so that you're not just separate from one another. Really, that was just me handing out stickers. There wasn't individual house scenes waiting for you or anything. So, while you've been gone, I've been dressing up the office with lots of little pictures of stuff that I found on the internet, including dropping in my inspiration pictures for all of the characters. Almost all the characters. Some of the inspiration pictures were fantasy inspiration pictures, and I couldn't include them in the office art. But yeah, this is we're back at Google. Can I lock this so that it doesn't go wandering?
He says as I drag it.
Stop dragging the entire building around, please. You are very strong. Okay. I keep dragging the entire world around. So, as you returned to work, which, I mean, I can grab y'all and plunk you in your pod. Shoop. Grab Scarlet, plunk her in the pod. This is not terribly important, but because we're almost immediately going to jump from here to the character sheet. Let's see here. We've got 4 of the 5. Amelia. We've lost our IT person.
I was at home. I'm at home.
You're still at home? Okay, I'm going to grab you out of your home and drop you off at work. Which is honestly a pretty solid way to commute.
I like it.
A giant hand drops you in your office. It's gentle, and fast, but at what cost?
It's like the Woolmasters in Zelda.
So,
Do I actually still have a squirrel on my shoulder?
yes.
Amazing.
The squirrel followed you from the fantasy world, and so now you have a squirrel in both worlds, as well as a significant portion of your psyche that knows, likes, and is friends with that squirrel, and is pretty happy that he followed you here to this strange new world. The computers are extremely confusing to the lot of you. But only half of the lot of you, and not at all to Amelia, who is an IT person. And so, as you're all getting settled in your pod, after your first week, which was a lot of meetings, Jeffrey, who I've also put his inspiration picture here, and it was a funny one. But Jeffrey rolls into your office and has a task for the lot of you. Like, dudes, y'all have had an amazing first week in the Young Executive Program. But now that you've done some of your orientation training, it's time for you guys to take on a task, an office task. Now I can tell that this pod has become really close. So I'm going to make all of you, all 5 of you, in charge of this office task together as a team.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, dudes, join me at the top of the character screen.
The what screen?
The character tab.
No, just if that was like in character.
I know. Things get weird in Miro. So, oh boy, do I have a lot of new rules to share.
Yeah.
I could tell from Tiffany's voice how excited she was by all of the new rules she's going to be dealing with in the near future. It's so many. Okay. So, you've all been sent the email laying out the details of Project Coffee Pool, which is this first tile here. So any of you can read that out as the details of the project you'll be taking on. And before we read that out, I'm going to start describing some of the rules of running a project together as a team. Now, the way that this project works is we start the project with every of the project's stats in the teal zone, which means that everything is going great. And every project balances technology, funding, bureaucracy, staff, and executive buy-in, which are the 5 things that you'll be trying to manage throughout your journey with this project. These will go up and down throughout the project. And by up, that means you have more of it. And by down, it means you have less of it. If it gets all the way into the red, that's bad. If it goes all the way to the bottom, that's real bad. But if it goes all the way to the top, that's also real bad. It means you have so much of that thing that it's putting the project in jeopardy. You can't have too much funding, too many staff, too much technology, or even too much executive buy-in as the executives grow much, much too interested in your project and start meddling until it's completely ended. So you don't want to go off the chart in either of these 2 directions. And so every time one of these moves in either direction, your project health follows it. And if your project health reaches the end of either of these 2 tracks, so if it goes all the way to the red, or if it goes all the way into the green and falls off, that means your project has died in some way. And we can look at the current state of the board and we can decide what it was exactly that killed your project. But it could be that you had way too much technology and it all crashed, or it could be that you had not enough bureaucracy and it just dissolved in a big pile of disorganization. Everyone lost all the receipts and it disappeared. So, there's going to be a series of decisions to make to move this project forward. The first decision I've laid out here, along with the person who's brought this decision for you. It's Graham, and he has a question about what you want to do with this project. If you decide to do the thing that he wants, you're probably going to end up going up on the bureaucracy track, but you don't know how much you're going to go up on the bureaucracy track. If you disagree, if you go nay, then you're going to go up on the funding track, but you don't know how far you're going to go up on the funding track. There also might be other consequences to this decision that haven't been laid out in the text. You just have sort of a vague idea what might happen if you do these things. So you've got a decision point and sort of indicators of what those decisions might do to the project, but they're not certain. So what's going to happen is for every one of these cards, we are going to hold a vote as a team as to what we are actually going to be doing on either an aye or a nay. So you have an aye, a nay, and a pass as your sort of 3 things you can vote for. Now, you'd think that everyone would be voting to make the project as successful as possible, but not quite. You're all kind of trying to advance your own personal agendas here. Everyone wants the project to survive until completion, because you all would get more points if the project survives until completion. However, each of you has a secret agenda, which sits above your aye, nay, or pass cards, and describes the thing that you want to do. Now, for this segment, you're going to get your own points, separate from the rest of the team. And the person who has the most points at the end gets a small special reward, which is just going to be like a little trophy. And we're going to collect those trophies, and those are going to be leadership points. Leadership points are going to be rare, and we're not going to see them very often. And so you have to, win a challenge, essentially, to get a leadership point on your side. If you want to see not just your agenda, but everyone's agenda, but there's the agendas up here above the hold your horses zone. And so you can actually see what all 6 of the agendas are. There are 5 of you, so 5 of the agendas are in play, and the 6th agenda is not in play, but I'm not going to tell you which ones are which. You kind of have to guess by behavior who is who. As a quick overview, the careful really wants the project to be actually successful and keep everything, nice and neat in the middle between the orange and the lime. The overcomplicator wants to see everything in the green. The minimalist wants to see everything in the red or orange. The agitator just wants this project to die, and wants everything to be either in the red or in the green. So if it's going well, they'll try to make it go so well that it goes off the rails. If it's going badly, they'll try to make it go so badly that it goes off the rails. The agitator's a real problem. The provocateur is just interested in seeing big changes. So they want to see one thing very, very high and one thing very, very low. And the difference between the highest and the lowest track is how many points they walk away with. So they're just trying to see big swings. The gossip doesn't care as much how the project does. They just want to accumulate social points. And that's the 6 of them. That's the people who are involved in this project. So now we're going to talk briefly about how a vote goes. So when we do our first vote, which will be about Graham and his coffee plan here, the leader will go first. They can put as many vote tokens as they want on either aye, nay, or pass. Do. If at any time you choose pass, you don't actually have to put a vote token on pass. You can just say, I pass. You have 2 options. If you pass, you can become the mediator. You can just say, I pass. I would like to become the mediator from now on. Mediator decides all ties, which can be very useful. It's a powerful thing to be. Or you can pass and hold your horses. And if you pass and hold your horses, you get your share of any votes in the hold your horses zone at the end of the round. So if you legitimately do not care about what's happening, you could hold your horses and then just accumulate more votes for the future. Which is going to become useful because you will run out of votes eventually if you vote heavily on a lot of these things. So the leader, let's say Scarlet here is the leader, and she votes aggressively. She votes 2 in favor of Graham's suggestion that we allow people to opt out of the coffee pool. Then we keep going in. It would be clockwise if there was a clockwise, so I'm just going to say it proceeds from left to right in a loop. So after Scarlet is Amelia, and Amelia could go, no, I don't think people should be able to opt out of the coffee pool. If anyone votes higher, if anyone puts more votes down than the leader has, they become the new leader. So in this case, Amelia has put 2 in nay. So we're tied, but Scarlet is still the leader. If at this point Steve were to vote 1 in nay, nay is winning, but Scarlet is still the leader. She's still responsible for this vote. If then Tiffany were to vote 3 in favor of aye here, Tiffany would become the new leader of the vote. This is just important because whoever the leader is responsible for the decision that gets made. They're the person who gets blamed if the decision is made. So whoever is holding the leader token is also the person who is the touch point, the person who makes this call. And voting continues until the person to the left of the leader, so in this case it would keep looping around until Steve finished his vote. If no one becomes the leader and it comes back to Myrtle, then the vote is over. Myrtle doesn't get a second vote. The leader only gets their big vote. They don't get a second vote, and that ends the voting round. At which point we tally up all the ayes and we tally up all the nays and we see how the decision moved forward. Finally, there's only one. I've done all the rules except for well, two more rules. I love explaining rules so much, you guys. And we'll play this, and we can also explain things as we go, which will make it easier. But this is one of those games where there's a lot of upfront explaining, so I'm sorry. I've taken all of your office politics points. You have large office politics tracks, the lots of you. Each of you has office politics points in your character pools. And so each of these tokens is worth 2 office politics points. And you can trade them to other players in exchange for their votes. If you make an agreement with another player, and you give them office politics points, and an office politics point changes hands, everything you've agreed to is binding. I will enforce that they actually follow through on the thing that they said that they would do. So if you say, I will give you an office politics token in exchange for three votes on this, or just in exchange for a yes vote on this, they get that, then they must vote with those. They must adhere to any agreement that involves the exchange of tokens. If the agreement doesn't involve the exchange of tokens, they do not need to uphold it. Yeah. And so, okay. The final rule is that whenever these ones move, if they move twice, the second time they move more. If they move 3 times, the third time they move even more. So they sort of gain momentum as they get closer and closer to the edges. There's a complicated rule that deals with that I will just sort of do automatically for you as we play this. I'll explain it as we go, just to move us along. After you vote, all of the votes that you've expended end up in the hold your horses zone for the next round. So this zone is going to get richer and richer with votes, which makes it more of it increases the likelihood that you'll want to pass just to get your hands on some of that sweet hold your horses swag. And that's all the rules. So I'm going to put Scarlett, you're the project lead, and you should read out the project coffee pool. Actually, I'm just going to say the leader, whoever is currently the leader in the vote, is going to be responsible for reading out the project description and reading out the decisions you have to make.
Sure. So the project description is a lot of our employees have been bringing their own coffee beans, coffee grinding equipment, milks, and sugars to work, causing a lot of mess and confusion in the cafeterias. Thanks to HR Directive 928V, our office handbook specifically discourages in-office pools or non-charity fundraising. We are willing to make an exception to set up an employee coffee pool, which will be empowered to both collect funds from our employees and use those funds to provide a unified coffee service throughout the building.
So this is going to be your team. You guys are going to be working on Project Coffee Pool together as a team.
Yay! No more individualist coffee, only collectivist coffee.
Exactly.
Should I read out the opt-out?
Sure. So this is the first decision point in Project Coffee Pool.
Yeah. First decision point is opt-out. Graham is concerned that a lot of our employees do not drink coffee and therefore would prefer to be excluded from the coffee pool. A simple per-employee fee would both provide more money and be simpler to administer, but wouldn't be fair to employees who don't want to take advantage of the coffee cart. Should we make the coffee pool opt-out? A, plus bureaucracy. Nay, plus funding.
And now it's time to talk amongst yourselves.
Well, does somebody vote first and then we all go after them?
So it's you can discuss before you vote, also while you vote. It's a big part of this game is just deciding what you want to vote for as a team or even separately. everyone could make a case for or against making the coffee pool opt out, depending on both what you think advances your own goals and also just how you think you should manage a coffee pool. Because outside of the conceit of the game that we're playing here, you are actually, as a team, running a coffee pool in the universe. So if it goes very badly, it will reflect on you.
Does anyone have any strong opinions?
Well, Amelia is a huge tea drinker, so she's kind of on Graham's side here. Coffee's pretty gross, and I don't want to pay for everyone else's coffee.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you want to give me one of those sweet little pink bubbles?
Well, if we want to like roleplay that one, do you think Scarlett's also a tea drinker?
I think she probably. I don't know. I think
I'm
she probably.
gonna
would
say
have
that
me.
Amelia has seen Scarlett drink some tea sometimes, so she's gonna come up to her and be like, "Hey, Scarlett,
Pretty
I'll
jeans.
give you some
Yeah.
of the good Earl Grey if you'll vote and say this is
Yeah, that's enough for me. That's enough for me. I guess
So what
that's
do I
it.
just like move one of the pink things over here
Yeah.
Yeah,
into her bucket?
yeah. If I'm getting with some of the good Earl Grey,
The good Earl Grey.
Is there a difference in qualities between Earl Greys?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
The really good Earl Grey is like it's loose leaf. Sometimes it has actual vanilla in it. It's really nice.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Little
it doesn't have
flowers.
actual vanilla in it, which I think is even nicer because I like sort of a citrusy Earl Grey with lots of bergamot.
I prefer the non-vanilla one.
Me too. They call it cream of
Lots
Earl
of
Grey when it has
bergamot.
too much
I
vanilla in
like
it, and
some
I'm just
of the
like,
green
nah.
ones.
Okay,
Mhm.
Amelia, your vote is next. You get to decide how aggressively you're voting in favor of letting people opt out of the coffee pool. However, Scarlett is still responsible for this vote. So if something goes very badly with this decision, she'll be the one taking the heat. But if something goes very well with this decision, she'll be the one taking the credit.
Mhm.
And
Is that
you can be
because
the one taking the credit if you put 3 votes down, at which point you're the new leader of this vote and the person who gets all the credit if it goes bad.
I
Or it
kind of
goes
just
good.
want to see how that works.
Okay.
So I'm going to do it.
makes
So
sense?
you're now the leader. So you're now the person pushing hardest for everyone to opt out of the coffee
Down
pool.
Hard-
with coffee. Tea is better.
Okay, and the vote proceeds as usual to Steve, who gets to vote aye or nay on opting out, on letting people opt out of the coffee pool.
I mean, Steve does drink coffee, but he thinks that people should be happy, so he's gonna give people the option to opt out.
And keep in mind, Myrtle, you can vote aye or nay, but if you feel like this vote is in the bag at this point, you can pass and get more votes for next time, or pass and become the mediator, becoming a powerful person for future.
I feel like Myrtle doesn't want any responsibilities, but she's happy to just hold her horses and see what everybody else is going with, and
So you put yourself in the hold your horses zone. You don't have to drop a vote in the hold your horses zone. Just let me know you're holding your horses, and at the end of the round, if you're the only person in the hold your horses zone, you get all those votes for the future.
Okay.
Now,
That
Doreen.
wrecks what I was gonna do because I was going to hold my horses.
Okay, so now both you.
What happens if there are 2 people in there?
You get 1 vote each, and the remaining vote stays in the hold your horses zone. You got to share those
I see.
horses. You're splitting the horses,
Those poor horses.
and so that brings it back around to Scarlett. Scarlett, you can vote more aye if you want to take over the leader position, but otherwise,
I think that's pretty good for me.
yeah, okie doke. So this has been a fairly aggressive. Everyone thinks people should be able to opt out of the coffee pool. So I'm going to drag all of these spare votes, all these votes that you voted, and I'm going to put them all in the hold your horses zone.
Nay.
After, wait a minute, did I give out the horses to Doreen and Myrtle? I think.
Yeah,
You already did.
drag them over.
I'm just trying to keep track of everything. Okay, so now the hold your horses zone is much more potent than it was before. Look at all these votes in the hold your horses zone. And so now we get to find out what happens as a result of your opting out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, so an initial survey demonstrates that some 75% of employees do not trust or want to participate in the coffee pool in its early stages, meaning that the project will be operating on a shoestring budget going forward. So you lose 3 funding points, but gain 1 bureaucracy. So these funding goes 1, 2, 3. It jumps down to here, and it's got momentum. So the next time funding moves down, it'll move down even faster. But if it turns around, it'll lose all of its momentum. So if you add funding, it'll lose that momentum. And you gain, and so the project also takes this dip and heads here. At which point bureaucracy goes up by 1, and also takes on a little bit of momentum. And as a response to that, the project comes back up by 1. And so this is where the project health is, a little in the orange after that. It was going to be an unpopular decision any way you sliced it. Which bringing us to our next decision point, brought to us by Old Pete. And so the new leader is Amelia. So Amelia, if you could read out this new decision point for us.
As long as I don't have to do the old Pete voice.
You do not have to do the Old Pete voice.
Old Pete thinks that he could automate the pool's receipt management with a handful of Excel macros connected to an access endpoint. This would certainly save some manual effort, although nobody is terribly proficient at Excel around here. So the ayes will get tech, and the nays less bureaucracy.
Okie doke. And Jen, you also get first vote and to kick off any discussion on Old Pete's plan.
Oh boy, access. Anybody here used access?
No, Jira only.
Ugh.
But I mean, if old Pete thinks he can do it.
Old Pete forgets his password every other week.
Oh, good point.
I
That's
have
a
picked
very
an old
good
Pete.
point. Well, if people want to continue to discuss this, I think I'm going to go ahead and vote nay on the access. I know too much about it.
Steven understands some of these words. There are certainly words that are coming out of people's mouths. I think Steven's going to hold his horses.
Myrtle isn't one to stand in the way of someone reaching for their goals, so she's nervously saying, "Aye, Pete wants to do it, then go ahead, Pete."
I don't know. I've seen Pete struggle.
And if
So
Pete's
many
the only one who knows how it works, like,
Yeah.
what happens when he gets distracted by another shiny object?
Yeah.
Like
I
every
think
Thursday.
I'm going to go nay, and we're gonna try this thing because that gets me leader,
Nice.
right?
Yes, you become the leader of the vote. So you're the
So-
one who's pooping on his dreams.
I don't want to poop on his dreams, but I also know that his dreams lead to nothing but pain for everyone involved. So, how does passing work? Do I put a vote on pass?
You could
You
just
just say-
you could just say I pass.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pass.
Okay, Amelia, you get to keep voting until it comes back around to Doreen again.
What if I'm done voting?
Then you can just stay. You could just stay. I've got my vote on nay. I'm good to go.
That's me.
Okie doke. Steve, would you like to jump back into the voting and not pass anymore?
I am comfortable where I am.
Okie doke. Tiff.
I feel like this vote's wasted, so I'm good.
Okie doke. And so we have looped back around with 3 nays and only 1 aye. And so, first of all, everybody who passed is going to get their share of the Hold Your Horses zone, which is Steve and Scarlet. And so that's 3 each. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Enjoy your new votes. These votes are going to go into the Hold Your Horses zone. It's a nay, and Doreen is responsible for this nay. So I'm going to put Doreen's name next to the nay on this expense tracking project. And the way that this works is this shoebox full of old receipts isn't terribly well organized, but I guess it'll do the trick for now, at least until we come up with something better. And you take a big hit to bureaucracy because you're not organizing this with any sort of technology. 1, 2, 3. This is an unorganized system we've got here. And it's
But,
lost
like,
its momentum because it's has flipped direction.
But it's like it's the bus problem. If
Mhm.
old Pete is the only one that knows how to do this, and he's old. Who knows how many more years he's got
He's
left?
old.
Like,
He's
this
old,
place,
but
and then he's
learn some
gone.
Excel, you office
Like-
workers. I mean, I understand that the bus factor is very much in play here, and I used the word access, which is, for me, a bad word.
That's a bad word.
But I think that in the case of the decision to do this in Excel versus the decision to do this in no other plan was specified at all for receipt tracking, so now
true.
you're just doing it with the shoebox. Also, this is a capricious universe. You're going to have to suffer with some of my weird behind-the-scenes decisions. Okie doke. And so the leader is now Doreen, and so you get to read out the next decision point for us.
All right. T2. Blake is all for the coffee, but she thinks it would be nice if the cart was also stocked with a well-curated selection of herbal teas. It would cost a little bit more, but people would probably like it. We lose the monies, but we plus the staffs, and nay is a big old question mark.
Herbal teas. That's not even tea. That's just flowers and water.
Okay, well, let's have a
I
look.
like
So,
flowers.
right now, our funding, you guys, not looking so hot. So I'm gonna vote nay, just because like we do not have the funds for this at the moment. I'm sorry, Blake, but you're gonna have to drink some orange pico from Nestle or whatever and just be happy with it.
Okay.
I feel strongly that this is one of the only things we have funds for, and I really like herbal tea.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Shiana going in big for the herbal tea.
Well,
What do you feel like, Amelia?
well, Amelia's gonna keep bringing in her very specific brand of Earl Grey, so she's kind of ambivalent, and I'm gonna pass.
Hold them horses.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, how do you feel about this difficult herbal tea decision?
I mean, Steve doesn't have a lot of opinions in general, but he just really hates herbal tea.
Is that a nay then?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, and Tiffany, Myrtle, how do you feel about this herbal tea situation? You're actually kind of the decider here. You're the deciding vote. So if anybody has skin in the game, you might try to throw some
Oh,
office
no.
politics points Tiffany's way. Tiffany, are you muted and you don't know that you're muted? Maybe. I heard you say maybe in the other room, but I didn't hear you on the microphone.
Uh-oh.
I'm back. It's
Oh,
okay. No fears, guys. Myrtle believes in her drink of choice is a hot water with lemon. So she thinks having tea around would greatly improve her chances of encountering hot water with lemon.
You'll get hot water with lemon either way. I mean, if you got it.
Yeah, she's fairly ambivalent. So if anybody wants to help her out, but I think for now she's gonna say I did the tea.
Nice.
Okay.
Not make any waves. She knows how.
How far, like that would push it all the way into the red? Like, I'm a little confused about the acceleration. Like, is this going to completely tank the project?
It could if it's a big, but it would have to be a pretty big. So the way that the acceleration works is that it adds an extra point to any moves in this direction. So a -1 to funding would be a -2 to funding, or a -3 to funding would be a -4 to funding. Because you lost funding earlier, losing funding again could really push it. But it's unlikely that this is going to be as expensive as 75% of people jumping out of the program in the first week, which was a big loss of funding. Whereas this is just a teeny tiny little T funding. So it might be it might be a move of like 1, 2, or 3 squares down, depending on how much it's got in the pipes. But and if you really do, for the sake of funding, want to kill this project, you are in the driver's seat here. You can put, I think, one more token into nay.
That would tie it. What happens on that?
Well, then the mediator decides, which is
right.
also Doreen. So if you put one more vote into nay, you can make it a tie and then resolve it in your own favor.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so that's a nay on the the tea for 2. And because you are not the leader, you managed to accomplish that entirely with mediator shenanigans. Despite the fact that Shauna voted big I, she's still responsible for Scarlet. Nay. She's the one who said nay on this. Because she was the leader when this decision was made. And so that let's do the who held their horses. Only Amelia for a big vote bonus.
Oh, nice.
Doot 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 doot.
I'm scared of the question mark, but
I know.
you gotta live life on the edge, right?
That's right. You only coffee pool once.
I'm actually pretty happy at how this worked out because this is one of the more interesting outcomes that we've ended up on, which is that you've narrowly avoided catastrophe by choosing exactly the right series of events. Nay. So if you had voted against opt out, Blake would have viciously trashed your program to the executives because she had to pay for coffee that she wasn't drinking. But she opt out was I, so Blake just opts out, starts bringing her own teas from home.
Like me.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to be a part of your stupid coffee pool, but you don't. Yeah, it's fine. Nothing bad happens, but something bad would have happened
Oh my gosh.
if it weren't for the fact that you let her opt out earlier
Hooray.
on. Okay, doke. So that means
So
that
both of these were losing situations.
yeah, it's not always all
Oh.
good. It's going to be hard to keep this project afloat. This coffee pool is destined for tragedy. Okay, so Scarlett, you're going to be reading our next situation.
All right. Bulk buy. Avis helpfully points out that by buying bulk Kirkland brand coffee beans, giant stacks of sugar, and various other supply in large bulk orders, rather than sourcing locally roasted free trade beans, we could have the cost of the coffee pool. It looks like A is funding and A is a mystery.
Dun, dun, dun.
I literally just realized that everything about this was coffee. I thought the coffee was just the first step. Like we get to other projects, it's literally all just coffee.
No, it's all management of this
Oh, the coffee
extremely
pool.
fiddly coffee pool.
Okay.
If you do well on the coffee pool, you'll get to do other projects in the future. And if you do badly on the coffee pool, you'll still get to do other projects in the future, but only if this turns out to have been fun.
Again, I'm probably not gonna drink that much coffee, so I'm open to suggestions. People have strong feelings. Otherwise, I might
Well,
say
this
nay.
is. I mean, the thing is, this is happening either way, whether or not you drink the coffee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
So
buying cheap beans rather than expensive beans by doing big bulk orders.
do we have any coffee snobs here that don't want, that like could not possibly drink?
Steven
Cheap beans.
loves Kirkland brand coffee. He is willing to spend some business politic points.
Nice.
Okay, so is he just going to offer them to Scarlett in exchange for her vote?
Eh?
That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
As a tea snob, bean juice is bean juice.
So is that a pass?
was the little purple dot, was that for A or nay?
The purple dot was for I.
Was for yes.
Aye.
Yeah. Kirkland,
Because
yes.
Steve loves his Kirkland coffee for some reason. I'm a real life coffee snob and blah, blah, I say. Also, be aware that the universe itself is a coffee snob.
That's true.
But I tried not to let that affect my planning too aggressively. Okay, so Amelia, was that going to be a pass for you?
I passed, yeah.
Okay, is it a
I
hold your
accidentally
horses or
set
a
up my
mediator?
character to be very ambivalent with this whole project.
Steve, you feel
Pass is
strongly?
A.
That's a vote in the A pile from Steve.
I'm a pass as a hot water drinker.
A hold your horses zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okie doke. And finally, Doreen, how do you feel about increasing the funding of this project?
I'm also gonna pass.
Okay, so that's a
It's
hold
already kind of
three in the hold your horses zone.
It's in the eye already, which is kind of what I wanted. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to expend any of your precious votes on this, this is just a real easy 2-vote pass.
Yeah.
And again,
Kirk.
Scarlet is going to get all the credit for this decision. She's really leading this team.
I hope we have a Costco membership.
Well, we will soon. And so now I'm going to hand out the hold your horses. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 divided amongst 3 people, which means 2 each to the people who passed. I shouldn't put it in your pass zone. I should just give it to you. And I'm also making a real mess of them. Ha ha ha! I'm ruining your delicious art.
I went to the wrong person.
Did it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just keep on giving Yang votes he didn't deserve.
Handing them out.
Okay. Yes, this is how it goes.
There we go.
I'm running a game.
Yay.
Okay. So that was a aye. Everyone has voted in favor of bulk buying the beans from Kirkland. Okay, so the coffee might taste like mud, but dang, it's so reasonably priced that the cost of operating the pool has been significantly reduced. So that is a funding turns around. It loses its stank in the other direction and starts headed back towards the center. This feels like a sensible, well-run project that's staying inside the lines. Okay, so that
Also
takes.
move?
Sorry, what was that?
Does the project track also move?
Oh, it does, and
Oh, yeah.
so it goes up 2 as a response to that increase in 2. Yeah, this project is smooth and even keeled. And so now that brings us to Scarlet. Could you read out our next segment? Okay, I'm going to stop this recording here, but there should be an episode lined up right after this one, unless you're at the end of the recordings, at which point, well, the new episode should be along shortly.